Hi guys, and welcome back to another incredible session. This one here is going to be so exciting because our guest today works at a company that I know that you'll know and love, which is Facebook. Annalise Deakin is here joining us today, and she's actually going to unpack what it's really like working at Facebook. And it's, like sign me up, sign us all up. But before we dig into the core, before we dig into the speech and we actually listen to Annalise and ask her some really great questions, I just wanted to introduce her to you guys so you can get a bit of context as to where she's been and what she's doing currently. So as I mentioned before, Annalise works as the client partner within the consumer packaged goods vertical within Facebook. Consulting on best ways to use Facebook for family and apps and services, for marketing and advertising campaigns, and across many key clients. So prior to starting at Facebook, Annalise headed up the commercial partnerships for the fashion and beauty portfolio of brands, brands like Marie Claire and InStyle and Beauty Crew at Pacific Magazines. She was also part of the digital transformation team at Bauer Media. And just as a fun little side fact, Annalise was actually one of her very first early roles was at the OG social media network, MySpace. Sorry, which is unreal. So welcome to CareerCon, Annalise, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Absolutely nailed that intro. So thank you so much. This is such
wonderful.
a great idea.
I think I kind of muddled up your actual role. So, maybe if you could just take 2 seconds just to quickly explain what it is that you do at Facebook.
Yeah, so really top line. So I work as a client partner. So in its simplest forms, working with our clients in a partnership role to make sure that all of their advertising and marketing across the Facebook family of apps and services is the best dollar spent for them, and that they're across all of our latest product updates, but also the best way to market across our platform. So that's in its simplest form. Day to day can be really different. So you can be responding to a brief for a certain product release across the platform. You could be educating on a new product release, something like Reels that has recently launched across Instagram. You could be going in and doing an insights presentation. So what are Gen Z thinking in the ways that they're using the platform currently? But you could also just be going in and having a chat and figuring out what some of their business challenges are and how you can help them throughout the year. So every day is really different, but it's really about being the best partner for your client and making sure that they're understanding everything across the Facebook network.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, that sounds so exciting and so many layers. Before we sort of dive into Facebook in general and your current role within Facebook, I really would love you to sort of, cast your mind back. Let's go way back to the start. Tell us a little bit about Annalise growing up, how high school was like, where you went to, if you did go to uni and where you went and what sort of led you to where you are now.
Yeah, sure. So high school was a very long time ago for me. I am 37. So I went to an all-girls high school in Sydney's West, and I'm actually still friends with all of the girls I went to high school with, which is pretty special and rare these days. But I had a really great school experience. I did pretty well academically. I'm not going to say I did exceptionally well, but I probably didn't apply myself as much as I could or should have. I was really naturally drawn to those kind of written and verbal communication-based subjects, so things like English, modern history, and also business studies. Absolutely loved business studies. But I wasn't so great at maths. And funnily enough, it's something that numbers is something I deal with quite a lot with in my current day-to-day role now. So I'm living proof that you can learn skills on the job. So yeah. And then after school, actually there was this moment in year 10. So we did work experience, and I believe they still do that in high school. And we did 1 week work experience, and I was lucky enough to get work experience at an independent dance music radio station. And I just absolutely loved it. And that was that kind of moment for me that I realised I want to work in media. this is it. I just love the people. I love the pace. I love the industry. And probably more so, I love the independence of it all. And I remember going home after that week and saying to Mum, you know what? I'm quitting school. I'm going to go and start at this place. Like, you know, they've offered me a job if I wanted. I'm quitting school. I'm dropping out. And she was like, are you sure you really want to do that? And she's really good in that she doesn't tell me and never has told me what the right or wrong decision is. And I think that's helped with kind of that critical thinking that, you know, is really important later in life. But we weighed up the pros and cons. Obviously, I continued into senior school, and then I ended up doing a communications degree at UWS. And communications is quite broad. I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to work in media. And I guess having a broad kind of degree has really, what it meant was that, yes, I went in knowing not really what I wanted to do, but what area I wanted to work in. But it helped me figure out what I didn't want to do rather than what I did want to do, if that makes sense. So an example of being at uni was I was in a PR lecture, and I remember at the time I was thinking, yep, I want to go into public relations. This is 100% me. It's exactly what I want to do. And I remember sitting in that lecture, and we're talking about how to structure a press release and what's involved in the day-to-day for a public relations manager. And I just thought, look, this is not me at all. It doesn't excite me. I'm not passionate about it. So I knew that's what I didn't want to do. But I was naturally really excited about all of the media and advertising subjects. So I knew I wanted to be in media and advertising, but not even when I graduated, I didn't know what role. So I think uni helped me shape what direction I wanted to go in within that industry, but still didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah, right. So whereabouts did you actually study at uni, Annalise? And what course did you study? Was it a PR degree, was it?
No, I did a communications degree at University of Western Sydney, so out at the Wellington campus. So I majored in media. So, yeah, it was quite a broad degree, and we did different subjects within that realm of communications. So anything from public relations to media-based to, you know, advertising and marketing as well. So quite broad.
Quite broad, yeah. Thank you for explaining that, because I guess, you know, one of the biggest questions that we get, you know, on the weekly is, you know, do I actually need to go to university to do what I want to do? So, you know, what do you think in your industry? Do you think that that students need to actually to head into uni as their next step, or you know, is traveling the world just as exciting and just as important? You know, can you sort of elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure. So look, university is not for everyone, and there are a lot of jobs out there that don't require a degree. But what I think it does allow is it broadens your horizons of what you can do. Yeah. So there are still a lot of roles that require a degree. At Facebook, there are people that don't necessarily have degrees, but they probably started there quite early on in the piece. But I think most roles now do require one. And I think there is importance in having that gap year. So my husband actually had 2 years off before he started his degree, and he did a commerce degree down at University of Wollongong. And he just has a much broader understanding of the world and how things work, which I never did. I just went straight into uni and kind of finished my degree and went straight into work. And also throughout uni and even high school, I was working from 14 and 9 months, you know, as soon as you could. So I think there's really great value in having a bit of a break and having a breather as well, if that's something that, you know, you really want to kind of try and fit in before you start university. And look, there are loads of opportunities in a degree, but it does really broaden your horizons of what you can do. And there's still a lot of roles that do require a degree. So it really depends on what area that you want to get into, I guess.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because I mean, I wouldn't like a doctor operating on me that hadn't actually gone to university. So, so you know, thanks for sort of unpacking that and explaining, in your opinion, what you believe. I mean, and that kind of leads us into the next question really nicely, because a really current theme that we want to really hone in to people watching from home in the next couple of days is this whole sort of thought of skills and transferable skills and skills that can take you across many different jobs and and things that you should focus on. So I guess what are some of the skills that you believe that that students or even even people that are wanting to change careers, what skills do you think that they need in order to do your job? And then on the flip side, like, what do you think your best skill is?
Yeah, sure. It's not necessarily a skill, but I think really key to success in a career is being true to yourself. And I know it's a bit of a cliche, but being your true self, showing up, showing your uniqueness, showing your personality is really key, and something that I've tried to continue on throughout all of my interviews and my career. At Facebook, we hire for cognitive diversity. And what that means is we don't want everyone that has the exact same background. So we don't want, 100 people that have done the same degree or haven't done a degree or have come from the same work background, because differences in opinion and backgrounds actually create for a more harmonious workplace and actually a better workplace. So that's something that's really key. But if you're thinking of key skills that I think are really important for media, but also really in any role, probably being a clear, concise and direct communicator, I think is really key. Being able to connect with others through empathy is really important. Being a good storyteller, and I think that's completely transferable across many, many different roles. Being able to problem solve and think on your feet and pivot quickly. Being a creative thinker, being focused, organised, and being able to multitask. And I think also being able to collaborate and work in a team environment is hugely important as well. Even with this new reality of working from home, being able to do that through VC or work groups in different situations is really important. And I think if I was to pick my one superpower, so my one kind of thing that makes me me, I'd probably say my ability to meaningfully connect with other people through empathy. And that's something I try and practice every day. And I think it helps to build longer lasting relationships because you do truly care about that person and also their business. So I think that's something that I try to really kind of foster and develop throughout my career.
Oh, wonderful. Are you able to, just give us an example of what you mean by that? So in terms of using and, touching on that kind of empathy aspect, can you give us an example of, a day in the life and how you've kind of had to use that?
Yeah, I think more broadly, business is going through COVID at the moment. So there are a lot of large businesses, but small businesses that are struggling. And just being able to offer them, how can you actually help? Like, what can I do to help your business right now? How can Facebook help your business? So just coming from that understanding, it's not necessarily business as usual. We're not responding to briefs. We're not necessarily working on these big campaigns. It's like, in its simplest form, how can I help your business? So, we had some situations where some workplaces had some of their staff out of work or shops had closed. So it was about how do we use our technology to still connect these businesses with their customers. So it was about coming up with new solutions, but actually putting yourself in the shoes of the business and how you could actually help them solve those problems.
Yeah, wow, great example. I mean, it's the unprecedented times that we kind of live in, and I hate to use that word unprecedented, the word, but you're so right. I think sometimes we'll just literally skip over that word next time. But I think sometimes when you are working, it's you're so focused on deadlines and budgets and staffing, and sometimes just at the basic level, what we actually are doing is we're actually just human beings connecting with another human being trying to solve a solution. So
absolutely.
skills of empathy. Wow, that's unreal. So thank you for that. I think we're just going to, take a bit of a step change now, and we're going to chat about Facebook. And
Sure.
and I can see that we've got lots of questions that have come through. But before we sort of kick off on viewer questions, I would love to know how you actually got your job at Facebook. And, can you take us through the interview process? What did you have to do?
Sure.
And then, because I know that everyone's going to be wanting to know, what are the perks of the job of working at Facebook?
Yeah.
If there are any, I'm sure.
Always comes up. So I actually was referred for a role, but I was interested in a role, but I had someone refer me for it, which was, really and lucky for me at the time. So I was referred for a role, but I applied for it. And then how that interview, I actually had 8 interviews, which sounds absolutely insane.
Wow.
Yes, 8 interviews. So I can give you a kind of run through of how the process works, and there is an external link. So for those that are interested and want to actually look up how the interview process works, what are some of the questions that you're asked, there is an external link that I will share with you, Kira. I don't know if there's a way that we can kind of send that out, but I'll share that with you. But initially I had a call with the HR manager at the time. So that was more like a screening chat, just me asking questions, them asking questions about me and my background. Then I had a call with a hiring manager, so 2 kind of 45-minute calls. Then you go into interviews in the office, so on site, and then in-person interviews, or sometimes VC if you need it. And they're with people that will either be in your direct team or from cross-functional teams that you'll be working quite closely with, or from senior management. And from different areas of the business to get kind of a really good understanding of how you would fit in. And therefore 45-minute interviews. And then I had 2 more after that. So I had actually a call with my boss's boss, so his manager at the time. And then my last one was with the hiring manager, so my now boss, in person. And typically it's anywhere from kind of 6, sometimes people have 10, 12 interviews. It depends on how competitive that role is and how close it is between candidates, because it needs to be a kind of decision made at a group level who goes through to get that final job. So it's very behavioural based questions. So tell me about a time when you had a disagreement with a manager, and really focusing on problem solving skills as well. So how did you figure out a way to alleviate a situation, and what were the steps you took to get to that end result? So they're very much based on scenario examples. And yeah, when I got the job, it was probably one of my highlights of my career. I was absolutely over the moon that I was going to be starting there. So I've been there 2 years now. And probably, some of the perks are good, I'm not going to lie. But the main reason you do join, I think, Facebook is to be around like-minded people, and that you're on the cutting edge of technology. And it's a way of using technology to connect people and bring the world closer together. So I think that's core to the reason I joined, but there are amazing perks. So at the office, and I haven't been in the office since the start of March, but when we were in the office, we have a cafe and they put on fantastic food. So we have daily breakfast and lunch every day, which is amazing. We have private healthcare cover, which is also absolutely fantastic. We have some benefits that cover our wellness, so things like going to the gym, etc. And then also our travel to and from work. So those kind of things are absolutely amazing. And I guess the opportunities for traveling overseas as well, and connecting with people that do your job in other countries. So we do global conferences when we were able to do those back in the day, and then also regional ones as well. So being able to get together in a big group and travel to Singapore or to San Francisco and actually go and see HQ. So when you start, you get to go and onboard in Silicon Valley, so in Menlo Park at head office. So that is just mind-blowing, and a really great way to kind of start your career as well, because you're starting with loads of new people at once, and it's just super exciting, and you really get to know what the company's about.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for taking us through that, Annalise. I think it's amazing that you did touch on the fact that you are working within an organization that really is at the forefront within the industry, and that's something that really lights you up and excites you. And I think that's the perfect way to lead into some of our viewer questions, and we have many, so let's just see how many we can get through. But one of take a drink of that water, because so one of the first questions is, how would you describe the culture at Facebook excuse me, and opportunities for growth and career progression?
Yeah. Great question. So culture at Facebook is all about learning and collaboration, and learning from different people in different teams. So although I work in kind of a marketing and sales organization, we have teams that are in creative or marketing science or public relations and communications and policy. So it's about collaborating with different people and, using the best from different people's minds and actually bringing the best out from that. It's about fostering communication, open communication, being your authentic self, being bold, trying new things and not being scared. And I think probably the thing that I love most is just people getting their hands dirty and giving things a go. Like if you don't know something, people will ask, but I think people really love to try new things, try new products. And we have an opportunity at work which is called dog fooding. So it's all about trying your own product before you go out and kind of, talk to it with clients. So, we have an opportunity where we can use our ad credits to support small businesses or charities in that space. And I think there's no other workplace that I've ever been where they're like, yeah, here's some bonus ad credits that you can use towards supporting small businesses and charities. So you can learn how the ads manager system works and how to actually book ad campaigns and how to facilitate that with clients. So it's on the job learning, and they're encouraging you to do that. And also it's a culture that really encourages to have side hustles as well, which is another first. I've never really experienced that in another workplace before. So there's a lot of people that have, skincare brands, or they sell clothes, or they do, consulting in different ways. Anything that's non-competitive to their day job and is obviously not clashing with it, but there are a lot of people that have little side hustles that they do on weekends. And I think it's a place that encourages that because it broadens your mind and gets you to be creative as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, thank you for that, Annalise. Thanks for answering those questions. I guess another one that sort of leads perfectly into the next question, which is, we've spoken about how incredible it is at working at Facebook, but surely there are some times when, when things aren't going, well or according to plan. So one of the questions is, what are some of the challenges of working at Facebook?
Yeah. Because it's such a big company and it does lead in that space with technology, you've got to be comfortable with being in the press cycle a lot. That's the honest truth. So it's not like working on a brand that isn't in the news most days. So you've got to be comfortable with having difficult conversations sometimes. And I think that's probably one skill that I've learnt, particularly in the last 12 to 18 months whilst working at Facebook. So I think that's probably key. I'm coming back actually because there was a second part to your question that I remember I didn't answer about career progression. So I'll quickly touch on that one.
Yes, yeah.
There's loads of career progression opportunities. So you can either go up in your org that you already started in, but you also might want to completely change. Like you might want to go, I want to be a creative strategist. What are my ways to go and work towards being that? Or I want to go and work in the product team. I want to be product marketing manager. So what are my steps to get there? And you would work on your with your manager through your kind of individual development plan on the steps to get there. So they very much encourage you that if you identify something that you want to work towards, that you can move between different organizations within Facebook, and also that if you're interested in a role that's in another country, to apply for that as well. So loads of different development opportunities within your own organization, but also in others as well.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, yeah, that's great. I mean, it sounds like you never leave once you're in. So with so many different opportunities and you know, more particularly opportunities for growth and, you know, encouragement of, you know, doing your own thing and owning your own identity. It's just, it's wonderful. So thanks for explaining that. One of another question that we've got coming through, and I know that you've kind of touched on this before, but would you hire someone within your team that didn't have a degree?
Interesting. So I'm not a hiring manager. I don't manage a team, which was also a real change for me. I'm what they call an IC, so an individual contributor. So I came from managing quite big teams to not managing a team. So I personally wouldn't hire. But there are a lot of there are graduate roles, so obviously they do require a degree in other regions and other countries. So I know in Singapore, which is kind of our hub for APAC, there are definitely graduate roles there. And I know of people that work at Facebook that haven't come from a university background. So it definitely does exist. But I think for certain roles, it is a requirement. And most roles that I've seen advertised do have university or a minimum of a Bachelor of Arts or a degree of some sort for most roles. But it's not saying that it's absolutely mandatory. So, I mean, personally, I've hired people in the past that haven't had degrees, absolutely, because I don't think it's a thing that you need to have. But most roles at Facebook do have some kind of minimum qualifications with a university degree.
Yeah, wonderful. I know that we're sort of, you know, nearing the end of our time together, but I really wanted to just ask you a couple more questions in regards to, you know, most importantly, you know, Facebook as a tool in order to, you know, in order for students to really start leveraging and growing their networks. And excuse me, I know that within Australia, there's a massive proportion of, you know, pretty much everyone from the ages of, you know, 16 onwards are on Facebook. So how do you suggest that students, or even, you know, recent uni graduates, how do you suggest that they use Facebook as a tool to get ahead in their career? Is there a way that they can?
Yeah, great question. There are a load of career-based and networking groups that you can join on Facebook, and also pages. So just thinking Business Chicks is one, obviously the Cool Career. But I've made a note of a few different, it's on my phone, and I want to get these right. That's why I'm reading it out. There's some great Instagram accounts that you can also follow that really help with career development and also getting into that kind of STEM career or tech space. So Career Contessa, that's one word. So I'll just call these out so you can write them down. There's a really great Instagram account. Tech Ready Women, that's an Australian-based company. They're amazing. Code Like a Girl, AU, really great account to follow. And you probably know all of these, Kura. Mojo Crow. Mojo Crow, this is Ben Crow. He's a performance coach, and we had a session with him about a week and a half ago at Facebook. It's all around finding your purpose and what drives you in life, and I think that's hugely important when you're starting your career. He is fantastic, and he's actually running an event soon around a confidence masterclass. That's one to watch out for. Yes. Smart Women's Society, that's another Instagram account to follow. Balance the Grind, that's a really good one. They're conversations with entrepreneurs, business leaders, artists and designers, and it's like a day in the life of their career. So really great resource. And then Bumble. So they're my kind of go-to accounts on Instagram for career.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, Annalise, and do you know what? I think, and later on today, if you could, send us a quick email with all of those accounts, that would be
Sure.
great. And even the link that you mentioned before, in regards to jobs at Facebook, that would be great. And then we'll send them out to everyone that's registered for CareerCon, so then they're all across everything. That's it. That's all we've got time for, unfortunately. I feel like that we could just keep on going. It went so quickly. It did. So, on behalf of everyone, and sorry we couldn't get to all of the rest of the questions that are in the question box, but, I just sincerely want to thank you so much for your time and for, taking us through the good times and bad times, and also about your time at high school and why you chose to get into the degree that you did. So I think it was a great rounded conversation. Thank you so much, and and have an awesome afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me. And if there are any questions and you want to reach out to me on Instagram, feel free. It's Annalise Deakin, one word, and I'll hopefully be able to answer them for you. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.